Okay, guys, this is part two here of Yggdrasil and the World Tree, and I just wanted to show you a moment of Neverwinter. It's the game I play. It's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons type game, and it contains a lot of the folklore that we talk about. There's my little tiger right here in front, and I have no idea what these two people are doing. They just ran up all of a sudden right when I started to record. But so here we are at like Main Camp Central, or the main place, Protector's Enclave, and you can see the buildings up there that are suspended in the balloon, and everywhere in the top of the city that leads all the way up, that from this view looks like an emerald forest, but it isn't. Whenever it gets closer, it actually changes colors to right. Greek ruins in the background, and if you'll look at the clouds back there, we're about to have a Neverwinter Siege event that comes. It seems like when the storm comes, bad things come, and of course this has to do with lightning gods and bad things too. There's your world tree right here. Used to be a statue here, but then they had us do a set of quests that had to do with the world tree, and it has to do with the elements. And it's supposed to be earth, wind, fire, and air is what it needs. And you get air, fire, earth, and there's no water. What's up with that? Well, anyhow, hopefully you can see all that. I think it was slightly off the edge, but yeah, and they want you to redo these quests. Whenever you do it, you come up here and you actually put it into this seed urn that's right here, and then the whole thing gets fed again, and it goes through this glisten thing, and you get to watch this visual. It's pretty neat. Looks like fairy glamour going underwear, and you get a lot more than you see right now, and it glows and goes through its little revitalization. But then the next time you come here, it's turning brown again and looks a little more autumn or fall look, and you have to keep replenishing it. You don't really need to. Once you get past this point in the campaign and have done it once, there's nothing to accrue from having done it again, unless you just want to make it sparkle every once in a while. But anyhow, so that's that. I just wanted to show you all that. Now we'll go on to the video. So again, we're talking about world trees, and the last one ended up abruptly. I didn't want it to go to 2, but it did. We talk about families and family trees, and how families might plant a tree and they see it growing up, relationships, and I related to that, and also the biblical model of the earth here, and how Abraham had went and planted a tree, and so that even shows you inside there a difference to it. And the rainbow bridge to Asgard, which has to do with mists and rain, of course, and symbology that goes along with that. But let's look at the end of this, and get a lot more information out of this second part, as I was saying. The fragility of the world tree. We also again gain an understanding from the old vellum scripts that the world tree is not a transcendental entity beyond time and space. Rather, it's alive, organic, fragile, and strong, and bound to the 3 dimensions of time: past, present, and future. And you can see this related to in the 3 fates, and we even have it in Charles Dickens and the Christmas Tale, if you will, right? So here's the symbology of the tree, pretty much itself, and it's showing all the plants that grow onto it, and then the deer that are going around it. But if you'll notice, there's a cornucopia here, for the tree of life gives forth many fruits, as said, and of course that relates to the idea in a different way. The Norns protect Yggdrasil. 3 old wise women known as the Norns are the protector of the guardians of Yggdrasil. And then there's 3 wise men that came from the east, and so on. There's 3 Stygian witches, and it continues. This is passed on as a concept that goes. The 3 Norns weave on a loom, which represents time itself, and there's a wheel in the ancient loom that looks just kind of like a ship's wheel, right, if you will. Okay. They are portrayed as Urd, Verdani, and Skuld, and those names are somewhat telling too, for you get and then you get Verdani, which of course we know where that means to, and then Skuld. And Skuld is strange. It means to the future, and so you're trying to look towards a future or something that happened. Seems like the past is Verdani is where they were in the present, and the future was going to be this land of the skull, or this concept of the skull. Every morning, the leaves of Yggdrasil, there is a sweet and glimmering dew which fills the valley. This dew is our memory of yesterdays. Before the sun evaporates the dew, Urd collects this memory water and pours it into her well, the well of memories. Many people say this is the well of souls. The dew water is named Aurr, A-U-R-R. So Aurr, and it has to do with gold and ore and this essence of distilled type of things too. And strangely in this, the river that the ancient Egyptians used to have was not known as the Nile. Nilus was a river god of the ancient Romans and Greeks that talked about that place. But in fact, Egypt's not even the name of it, but the actual name of the river that ran through there was the River Aurr, A-R or A-U-R, and it has the same concept that goes along with it too. And it shows you a sharing of an earlier primordial concept that shared through a lot, as I showed Sumerians, Egypt here a lot, but then there's also a lot that goes with all the Proto-Indo-Europeans that apparently were in contact with all of these people. So, in the center of Urd's well, there are two sacred swans, which form a heart shape with their long necks when facing each other. And this is the symbology for a heart and where it comes from. For our human heart doesn't look like that. It looks like a fist. But at the same time, it's a sacred symbology. Now, where does that come from? Well, it's creating the fertility symbol of the god Freya. Frey, the god of love and fertility. And so now we can understand what the Valentine's heart is that leads into spring, right? And we can also understand how that may go along together, and then Frey and what Friday's all about, and and the weekend, and what that entails versus what may be able to go on during the week, especially if you have other children and things like that. So it can be seen in a lot of aspects, though many I'm not mentioning now. Well, let's continue. Love arises from this holy well, and if the past is discarded, memories forgotten, the roots will dry up, and the well will run dry. And so that's not a cool idea there. We don't want that, and you don't want to forget your past. And as already reflected in the last one, it seems like only video games and things seem to reflect back on this, and it seems to be looked at in a little bit of cartoon manner, and people know about maybe 2 sentences to go with a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it they just don't even really know about. And not that everybody should be a deep scholar in any way, shape, or form, but we should have some way that keeps representing this and showing it, rather than just letting it fall and walk off into the mist. Because what I'm indeed trying to do is clear that mist away, as they talk about, consolidate it and put it into a well of knowledge. Let's continue. Verdani, who symbolizes the president, or the present current, presides over the flowers during the flowering time, where life is said to manifest, as in birds and the bees, as in the rites of spring, as in butterflies and nymphs that go along and help to seed things in a turn of a Johnny Appleseed type of way, or as you see in the Sumerian symbology of fertilizing the tree of life, this re-embodying this queen bee, and how pollination seems to happen. Anyhow, Skuld assists the flowers, though, to reach out towards the future. Skuld, curiously, is the name which implies debt, as if the future owes something to the works of the past. And I'm telling you that it does. For all that's come before you, for you to sit on your ass and not learn any of it or do anything about it, and to know, or to not care to not know, is a travesty. And to not understand that we've been hit by comets before and nearly wiped us out, and that we should pay more attention because we are finally at an age we could do it at, would again be foolish. But let's continue. Let's look at this symbology here. We can see an eagle or a buzzard of life that's supposed to take people from earth up into the heavens that you have up at the top of this tree of the world tree, up into the clouds that are the top of the trees, like in Johnny Appleseed, if you've ever seen the old Disney story and how it shows a concept of like this. It shows you the three fates here, past, future, and present, and present is concerned. Also, we see in here the squirrel. Now, the squirrel is important to the oak tree, for the squirrel is the one that grabs the acorns. Nobody likes to eat acorns. The squirrel grabs the acorn and he takes it away. Well, there's a funny thing about linguistic and names and things. For a squirrel is really the squire of El. And El is that god of the Levant and the god of the Babel and the Temple with the angel. And it's as big as the Tower of Babel, or maybe an elephant, that the elders were well aware of these type of things and these storm gods of electricity. And so squirrels help out in this endeavor that you see here, and they carry a tree far away and plant it again. They come down the roots and they bring a new life to an area near it, and it continues. This can work with nomadic people having to follow tribes, but it also understands the concept of building cities and moving from there. So it can envelope in a lot of ways. That was from Wagner, Nord and Germanish gods on Helden. And so this is supposed to be the gods in heaven, but it says Helden. What's up with that? Well, hell comes from a different concept. The hell that we talk about now is strange. Hellenistic and Helen and all these and the Helens, that's not really hell. Hell was, well, in the Bible it's Gehenna or whatever, Sheol. So it's not really hell, but where do you get that concept from? And it's really a sign of heaven. But let's continue here and finish this. The world tree is connected with our own creation, preservation, and destruction. It teaches us that trees are bound to the fate of the world. It is up to us to care for our past, to remember that which we have lost, and also to celebrate the flowering world, the present moment, whilst reaching forward towards a possible future. And I'm telling you that it also means more than that, that what we should do, perhaps, is in realizing that all this goes together and that a lot of religions go together with the same concept. This bound fate of the world that we have going on has a lot to do with rain, famine, things like that, and that people of that time that were even writing it here were already a farming people, and they were working off of those, but they had known long before that they weren't, and that it connected them to their past of a time whenever they did live off nature, and this knowing allowed them to go through the seasons. For whenever you do farm, you're still working off seasons, and you're still working with crops, but then over and above that, there's hunting and gathering still going on. It happens to this day, but it's been refined into places we call supermarkets. But there's a lot behind that supermarket that involves a whole lot of farmers that probably don't get enough respect in a modern day time. But yeah, this sowing the tree of life and this idea of Johnny Appleseed thing. I don't know if y'all remember Johnny Appleseed. Let me see if I'll show you a moment of Johnny Appleseed. There's a reissue of it here. I don't know if y'all remember Buena Vista, but I believe that before that it was just under RKO. And I remember whenever I was a kid, something funny about this. Yeah, it's there. The animation guy's name was George Raleigh, and they put Gyogi, Gogi. We make fun of that. But anyhow, so here's a look at this and the ancient idea, and if you remember about it, I guess. I'm not going to play the sound because I'm sure it'll trigger off of it. I'm going to have to keep rescaling. Dennis May was in it. Dennis Day portrayed the characters of the old settler, Johnny Appleseed, and Johnny's angel, if you remember. And if you remember, it was from a book of American folklore. And there was like 4 or 5 different movies. There was Paul Bunyan, and then there was the story of John Henry, and Davy Crockett, and then the story of Johnny Appleseed, right? And how he had brought a sack of seeds and taken it across the world and helped to seed plants everywhere, and the story that goes along with it. And I don't remember it, but it was dedicated to John Chapman, one of the pioneers, one of the Johnny Appleseeds of the world. And it's just going to show the ending here. It's not going to show the thing, but if you remember the end scene that it had here, where it had the song singing and stuff, and you see the background, these are the cottonwood trees of spring, and how that leads into the clouds, and the clouds lead forever on, and that Johnny Appleseed will continue on. And this was kind of inspirational where I was a kid. I remember a lot of people thought it was funny, but I also remember it was one of the favorite ones for everybody to watch, even though they had seen it 10 times. So, yeah, so the concept of the world tree and how it connects to everything. Hopefully I covered that well. I know I've left out a lot of things. But like, share, and subscribe, guys, and enjoy. And we'll see you soon with another story. Peace.